Hey guys, Midway Piper with you today. Couple of things to talk about. Today is going to be mostly a books edition. I'm not going to have time tomorrow to do a Friday reads. Tomorrow's looking like it's going to be probably 11-hour work day, so I took today off instead of tomorrow. So we're going to do our Thursday reads instead today. Before I get started, just want to do a shout out to a new channel. It's only got a couple of videos out right now and right around 10 subscribers. So if you guys want to check out his channel, see what it's all about, the channel name is Coffee Piper. Just found him a couple days ago, and I wanted to do a shout out earlier, but he's a librarian, it sounds like. Does a lot of book content as well, and our books play a role in his content so far. So I wanted to wait till I do my book one. So I will leave a link down below. Again, the channel name is Coffee Piper. So check out his channel. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe to him. Also, just a quick side note, Painting Piper. I will get your package in the mail shortly. If you guys have not checked out Painting Piper, do that as well. I'll leave his link below as well. Today, housekeeping, we'll get that out of the way. I got my good friend Bert, 7LA311. The way this pipe sits, the way it smokes, it's just, I love everything about this pipe. I even went on yesterday and was looking around at any other 311s that I could find, and nothing really caught my attention too much. I kind of like the Alligator 311s. I'm not sure how I feel about the blue one. I don't know that that's really my color, so I'll take a look every once in a while and see. There's a lot more options for the 320s. I haven't tried that shape of a pipe yet, but I think there's a 311 Dolomiti. So that's got that like brown and tan, but it's just smooth. And I used to be my preference actually for a little while, but honestly, these sandblast finishes, they just give you a little bit more purchase. You don't feel too bad about if you get any little scuffs or dings on them. You don't really feel the obligation to try and keep them all nice and shiny and everything. So rusticated pipes for me are pretty good. Chris Herrick does a great rustication. But Savinelli's sandblast on this is just, everything about this pipe is just amazing. I was hesitant, I'll be honest, when I got this one, because the price was a little bit more than I would normally spend on a pipe, especially a mass-produced pipe, I guess you could say. But I'm happy with this one. I am so happy with this one, so it was well worth it. In it, I'm trying a new mix. Now, I gave myself a chuckle before I mix this. The main ingredient in it, it's been a rough couple of weeks, so I'm just spoiling myself with all the good stuff today. It's my favorite pipe at the moment. My favorite tobacco, Ahab's Comfort, Watch City cigar. So it's mostly that, but I added a touch of Sutliff Z88 Maple Walnut. I am gonna miss this stuff. I'm probably gonna bulk order some more of this before it disappears, because it's just fantastic. The smell is amazing. It's a good taste too. So I mixed a little bit of that into the Ahab's Comfort. And the chuckle about that is because Ahab's Comfort, I like to joke, is kind of just it's definitely a mix. I think there's like 6 different tobacco types in it. So why not add one more? But just to give it a little bit of a little bit of an aromatic feel to it. And I'm not disappointed. I literally just mixed it, so I don't think the maple walnuts had enough time to really soak into the Ahab's Comfort. But I just want to give it a quick try before I mix up a small batch of this and give it a go. So the maple walnut is this ribbon cut, right? And then Ahab's Comfort, if you're not familiar, is more of a crumble cake. Breaks apart really easy, but so I'll probably make a small jar, maybe the size of it, let it sit for a while, of the two. Let that sit in a jar. And I think, as of now, I'm going to call it Midway Comfort. I just love the maple. I made a small batch. I mixed some of that with Autumn Evening. And it wasn't bad on the smoke, but it left the Autumn Evening leaves a not very pleasant taste in my mouth after smoking it. So we'll see how this one does. All right, so on to the point of today's video. What I've been reading, what I'm going to be reading. I finished a couple of books, so I figured I'd talk a little bit about that. And I bought a whole bunch of books today, over the last couple days actually. I just got back from the bookstore today, right before I came out here to film, so there's some of the books, and then I ordered some from Amazon as well. So first things first, I finished Murdering Van Gogh. So I was reading that on my Kindle. That was a great book. 5-star recommend for sure. If you want any other details on that, you can watch some of my previous Pipes and Books videos. So I finished that. And then this morning, actually, I finished... Come on. There's a lot of books on the table here. I finished Robert C. Thaler's The Cafe with No Name. Fantastic read. Absolutely wonderful book. Slice of life. And the author's Austrian. And so takes place in Austria just after World War II. Sort of during the rebuilding times after World War II. But it's about a guy who opens up a cafe and all the characters that come through his life and what happens in his life over a period of somewhere within around 10 years or so. It's not a huge book. Fantastic book though, absolutely fantastic. Great author, great slice of life kind of stuff. So Highly recommend. I also gave this one 5 stars. But after 3/4 of this book, I said, you know what? This is an author I can get behind. So I'm just going to start putting them in the box there. So I went ahead and ordered the rest of his books, at least what's been translated into English. So I got this one. It's called A Whole Life. Andreas Egger knows every path and peak of his mountain valley, the source of his sustenance and his livelihood. Set in the mid-20th century and told with beauty and tenderness, A Whole Life is a story of a man's relationship with an ancient landscape, of the value of solitude, of the arrival of the modern world, and above all, of the moments great and small that make us who we are. It's a pretty short read, but that sounds absolutely fantastic. And with his writing style, I'm super eager to get into that book. So that's one of them. Second one I got, The Field. The Field is the oldest part of the cemetery in Paulstadt, where some of the small town's most outspoken residents can be found. From their graves, they tell the story. Some recall just a moment, perhaps the one in which they left this world, perhaps the one where they now realize changed the course of their life forever. Some remember all of the people they've been with, or the only person they ever loved. This chorus of voices, young, old, rich, poor, builds a picture of a community seen from below ground. The streets of a sleepy provincial town are given shape and meaning by those who lived, loved, worked, and mourned and died there. The field is a constellation of human lives, each one different yet connected to countless others, that shows how existence, for all its fleetingness, still has profound meaning. Again, sounds fantastic. Interesting take on sort of a slice of life in a town story. So, The Field. And then the last one, and I actually started this one already. The Tobacconist. Now this book, interestingly enough, nowhere in the book, is there a description of what it's about. So when I got it in the mail, I was like, I don't remember what this one is about. But essentially it's about, starts with a young boy and he gets older and he moves from a small fishing village into, I forgot where it is, bigger city, change of pace. And he apprentices under a tobacconist and he meets up with a professor named Professor Freud, who I believe is supposed to be Sigmund Freud, again in Austria, and a relationship that forms between the tobacconist, the apprentice, and Freud. So it sounds great, interesting. Got into it a little bit this morning. Not too far, but so far fantastic. Again, slice of life kind of stuff. Great character work. So that's that. Now, my OCD is going to come out for a second. I want to show you guys this, right? So let me just show you the covers real fast. Okay. 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 Now, I love a matching set of books, but they're all a different size, all three of them. And then, of course, the other one I had was by this author as a hardcover. All right. This one was published by a different publisher. And then these two were by the same publisher and totally different sizes. And yeah, it's my OCD. If I'm going to get a collection of books by an author and they all look so similar, I would like them to all match and be similar. But alas, that's not what I got. But anyways, I'm excited for all three of those books. So This thing amazes me. After all that talking, this damn thing is still lit. Absolutely insane. Go Savinelli. You done good. All right. Top off the lighting there a little bit. All right, cool. So I finished Cafe with No Name, just starting The Tobacconist. Finished Murdering Van Gogh. The other book I'm currently reading via audio. Yes, to me that counts as reading it. You guys know I've been working on this one. Don Quixote. Made really good progress on it though, look at that. That's all I got left is that of the book so far. It's a big chunker. It's 900 and some odd pages. Yeah, 950 pages or so. I'll be honest, when I started this book, I had no idea what it was about. I assumed it was a story about a knight. I didn't quite realize that it was more along the lines of a comedy, shall we say. More than anything else, I think. So I can see why it was such a revolutionary type of book for its time. Some of the jokes and things that are in this book would certainly be seen as rather crass for the time. It's certainly not going to rank up there as one of my favorite books I've read so far this year. I'm glad I'm reading it. It's longer than it needed to be. Now, granted, it is kind of like two books together in one, so there's that. But again, I can understand. I can understand the reputation the book has. So I'll probably get that finished up early next week, most likely. Most likely. All right, so that's what I'm reading now. So the rest of this stack is what I just picked up at the store today. Wow, it's a lot. So the next book I picked up, and there's a couple of references to this character in Don Quixote, which, you know, re-piqued my interest. Pretty sure that plane's loud, so I'm gonna hold on a second. It's 52 degrees out here today. It's absolutely beautiful. It's overcast, but it's beautiful. It poured last night. All right, I think the plane's gone. This sort of is a little bit of nostalgia, actually, this next book. Not the book itself, but who it's about. It's a biography of El Cid. The nostalgia factor is back when I was young. I was a huge fan of Age of Empires. Huge fan. Constantly played the game on the PC. And there was a whole campaign where you played as El Cid and Spanish armies and all that kind of stuff. And again, I just always thought of him as sort of a very famous Spanish knight of sorts. So I was walking through the bookstore. I went to pick up one book, and I walked out with 6. Yeah. But I saw this because I was walking by the shelf. And I said, oh, I don't really know anything about him. And when I read what the book was about, I was kind of taken aback because apparently he was not the oh so famous Spanish knight that I had always assumed he was. So just real quick to give you an idea of what the book is about. Exploring the creation of El Cid's legend. Rodrigo Diaz lived a violently colorful life in the 11th century Spain, an ambitious military leader, exile, and brutal mercenary. By turns, he served Christian kings, fought against Christian princes, battled Muslims, and eventually struck out on his own, carving out an independent principality. The man Rodrigo is long dead, but El Cid lives on, a superhero, a quasi-saint, the spirit of Spain, according to military dictator Franco, and a champion of medieval Spanish multiculturalism. In this riveting history, Nora Berend uncovers how El Cid has transformed across the centuries, confronting the gulf between truth and legend and examining how a military adventure became a hero to those on opposite ends of the political spectrum. The story of El Cid forces us to confront what makes us human, what it is about this man that appeals to us, and why it is that we transform the most unsuitable people into heroes. Nora Berend explores the invention of El Cid's legend over the centuries and reveals those active in its making, medieval monks, the women of El Cid's family, a playwright, and a historian, all among those creators of the mythic Cid. In this groundbreaking narrative, Nora Berend seeks to explain their motives, and in so doing, peels away the layers of a legend to evoke a real-life historical figure. So that just really piqued my interest hearing that. So here we are. Not a huge, super long read. Not super tiny font either, so I'm excited to get to that book eventually. Let's see. The main reason I went to the bookstore today is I'm not going to say too much about the book, but if you guys know CJ Box, is the Joe Pickett series. This is book like, I think 20 something in the series. I have them all. So I want to pick this up, and I'll get to this soon. I do these on audio. They've got a good narrator. It normally turns into like a 6-hour audiobook, which will be a nice break from Don Quixote for sure. So that'll be the next book I pick up. Good thing about this series is they're all related to each other, but to be perfectly frank, you don't have to have read every book in the series, or you don't have to go back and try to remember every little bit that happened in all the books. You can just pick one up as they come out from year to year, and you'll be fine. So that was the main reason I went. This one I picked up. I saw this one when it came out in hardcover, and it seemed interesting, but I didn't want to spend $30 on a hardcover. But this is on the New York Times book review, 10 best books of 2023 list. Daniel Mason, North Woods. Not to be mixed up with the tobacco. So when two young lovers abscond from a Puritan colony, little do they know that their humble cabin in the woods will become the home of an extraordinary succession of human and non-human characters alike. An English soldier destined for glory abandons the battlefield of the New World to devote himself to growing apples. A pair of stepsister twins navigate war and famine, envy and desire. A crime reporter unearths an ancient massive grave, only to discover that the earth refuses to give up its secrets. A lovelorn painter, a sinister con man, a stalking panther, a lusty beetle. As the inhabitants confront the wonder and mystery around them, they begin to realize that the dark, beautiful past is very much alive. Following the cycles of history, nature, and even language, Northwood shows a myriad of magical ways in which we're connected to our environment, to history, and to one another. It's not just an unforgettable novel, but a way of looking at the world that asks the timeless questions: how do we live on, even after we're gone? So that's Northwoods by Daniel Mason. No immediate plans to read that, but I saw that it had just come out in paperback, so the price was better. Probably should just look for that at a used bookstore. But that's that. All right, coming down to the last three. So the next one, this one I actually have on audio already. Even if I have them on audio, I still generally like to pick up a physical copy of the book because I read it. I follow along. This was on a 2-for-1 sale on Audible. And honestly, it was the only other one that sounded interesting in the bundle. There was one that I wanted to get, and then I was just looking for something else. Becoming Dr. Seuss. So, essentially a biography of that guy. Well, that guy. Who became Dr. Seuss and wrote all the stories that we've all grown up hearing and loving. Dog Ranch. So, yeah. It's not something you ever really think about. You either read Dr. Seuss and then you grow out of the books, and then eventually, if you have kids, you get back into them again and don't really think much else about them. So I figured I'd pick that up and learn a little bit about the infamous Dr. Seuss. So that's that book. The last two books are sort of in the same vein of each other, not anything else I've talked about. Thomas Jefferson's Education. By turns entertaining and tragic, this elegant history reveals the origins of a great university in the dilemmas of Virginia slavery. Thomas Jefferson shares center stage with his family and fellow planters, but at the crux are the enslaved black families on whom they depend. Alan Taylor's account of Jefferson's campaign to save Virginia by building the university is dramatic, a contest for power and resources rich in political maneuvering and eccentricities, comic and cruel. There's a couple of U.S. presidents that have piqued my interest over time. Among those, are James Garfield, Rutherford B. Hayes, Calvin Coolidge, and Thomas Jefferson. I know, what a hodgepodge. Well, they all have some things in common. Thomas Jefferson, I'm really interested in because I like his view of what America was supposed to be. The drama between him and Alexander Hamilton, if you're not familiar with that, it's It's very interesting, the different views of what America was supposed to be, the United States was supposed to be, and how far we've strayed from Jefferson's view. So Jefferson was very concerned about the country becoming more like a knockoff England with a monarchy. You want to stay away from that, and Hamilton was much more on board with essentially a new monarchy here in the United States, with a strong central government, central bank, all that kind of stuff, and Jefferson was pretty well against that. And well, if you know anything about how things are going, Hamilton won that. And that's led to a lot of problems we have today. So I do like reading about Thomas Jefferson. This one, I believe, is going to focus more on his time after his presidency, by the sounds of it. So that's some good background information. Don't really have intentions or plans to read this anytime soon, but it's sort of probably going to be good for reference. At some point, I'll read through it. But Thomas Jefferson's education. Finally, in the same vein of that book, The Jeffersonians. The Visionary Presidencies of Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe by Kevin Gutzman. If you guys know, in my previous videos, I refer to a podcast of which the name is currently escaping me. The Brian McClanahan Show. Got it. See how I pulled that out of my brain? Yeah. And he's always talking good things about Kevin Gutzman. He doesn't fall into the populist history, I guess you could call it, of this country. The whole story that Abraham Lincoln was the best thing that happened to this country. You know, that Roosevelt and Truman and all those guys were great for the country, and the growing of the executive power being a good thing. He's not in that vein. So I guess you would say he's not exactly a populist history writer, which is a nice change from the vast majority of history books that are written out there. Before the consecutive two-term administrations of Presidents Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, there have only been one other trio of its type: Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe. The Jeffersonians is a complete chronicle of the men who served as president from 1801 to 1825 and implemented the foreign policy, domestic, and constitutional agenda of the radical wing of the American Revolution, setting guideposts for later American presidents to follow. Or did they? The three political allies were tightly related. Jefferson and Madison were close friends, and Monroe was Jefferson's former law student. Their achievements were many, including the founding of the opposition Republican Party in the 1790s, the Louisiana Purchase, and the call upon Congress in 1806 to ban slave imports. Oh, we're always going to talk crap about Jefferson having slaves, huh? Of course, not everything the Virginia dynasty undertook was a success. Its chief failure may have been the inept planning that led to the War of 1812. The Jeffersonians details a time in America when three presidents worked toward common goals to strengthen our republic in a way we rarely see in American politics today. It's a beefy book. So, stuff I want to read. When I'm looking for something non-fiction, I'll get to this. Truth be told, as I come to a close on Don Quixote, I'm not looking to be reading anything large at this point. I'll be spending some time with a couple of smaller books for a while and just sort of moving through some stuff. But so those are the books I picked up today and the other day on Amazon. So I'm looking forward to jumping into those. Video's been pretty long, so thank you guys if you stuck around. Again, Coffee Piper, check out his channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.